Hello everyone, this is a Gamewell Identiflex 610 fire alarm control panel. These were first produced in the late 1990s and were designed for small to medium-sized facilities. The 610, along with other Identiflex series panels, used Apollo's XP95 addressable protocol. The 610 can have 1 to 4 SLCs. Each loop can have up to 126 devices. The 610 included a variety of built-in features, including agent release and adjustable detector sensitivity, alongside optional features like networking, alarm communicators, and voice evacuation. So let's jump right into this. For this demonstration, we have various XP95 addressable devices. On the table, we have an M46-29 conventional pole station with a PID95 mini module behind it, those wires. And a notification appliance is a Wheelock RSS strobe. On the floor, we have an MS95T dual action addressable pole station, a Wheelock NS horn strobe, an Apollo photoelectric smoke detector, a Firecom heat detector, and an MS7S conventional pole station with a PID95P point identification device, basically a monitor module. Now, let's test all these devices. Let's start with this pole station. Gotta wait a couple of seconds here. And we have audible silence. Strobes continue to flash. And this panel has a bunch of operator buttons up here that flash depending on which options are available. So we start with acknowledge, then silence, then we can unsilence, reset, or view the alarms. So now let's go check out the devices on the floor. You can hear the DSM sync module just clicking away here. Now for this pole station. This panel is kind of slow. Now let's hit this pole station. The device alarm is fast, but it could take a second on the panel. Now let's test these detectors. We'll start with the smoke detector. The detector is alarming. It starts flashing faster when it's about to light up. And finally, the heat detector. We use a hair dryer. Now that everything has been activated, we'll air out the detectors and reset the pole stations. This one might take a minute. Sentries usually require 2 hands. There you go. At least this one uses a screwdriver. now we can reset. System says commencing system reset. And it seems to take a bit longer with more devices on the system. But that's fairly normal. There we go, system is idle. As mentioned before, there's a couple of operator control buttons here. Each one has its own LED. There's additional LED indicators over here, as well as a numeric keypad with some function keys. The controls are locked unless you turn the key. And the display remains off when the system is normal as a form of screensaver. So while we have that, you can try drill. There's a day button here. This sets the panel into day mode. At night, there could be different sensitivity options and other output controls that are set differently depending on how it's configured in programming. This panel is always in day mode, so this button doesn't really have any use. And then the last three buttons are to display any trouble, supervisory, or alarm events on the panel's buffer. So here's the inside of the Identiflex 610. Got a big transformer here, some batteries. It's not too much space in here, but 7 amp hours fits. So this large circuit board back here is the bus driver module. This is the main I/O board and also the power supply. And the card on top of it is a loop card. This is where all the XP95 devices are connected to. So this is a single loop module, but there could be up to 2 loops. There's an extra slot there. On the bus driver module, there are 2 signal circuits, a master box, auxiliary power, and 4 relays. And there's also ribbon cables that go to the loop card and to the CPU module, which is this card here. Got your firmware chips here. And then this large board back here is the LCD display and the keypad. Various labels on the back here. Interestingly, this panel was installed in 2004, even though most of the boards on here are from 1998. The Identiflex 610 had a variety of different cabinets depending on how many loops were needed and the size of the system. This is one of the smallest cabinets on the system. It can only have 1 or 2 SLC loops, even though the 610 can hold up to 4. There's some larger cabinets. There's XL cabinets for more battery space, and also a VE cabinet for IF610 panels with voice evacuation on them. Now let's explore the menu interface on the Identiflex 610. So first, we need to log in, enter the passcode. There's 4 different levels, and additional levels can be added in programming. I'm just going to go into the default level 4. Default passcodes are in the user manual. So now we are in programming mode. And as a side note, there's a couple of dead pixels on this side of the LCD screen, but shouldn't affect what we're taking a look at here. Let's start with circuit programming. Hit 1, enter. We have 3 options. Let's start with inputs. 1, enter again. And here's where the initiating devices are configured. So circuit is the SLC loop. There's only 1 loop on this panel. And ADD is the address, which is 10. And that's for the heat detector down there. So the device type is heat, zone type, input group, the temperature setting, this is the standard setting, and rate of rise, which is set to yes on this device. Address 1, this is the smoke detector. Device type optical, zone type and input group are the same. Sensitivity level, which can be adjusted, and compensation. This allows the detector to adjust its sensitivity based on the background environment. Address 3 is a manual pull station, that one, and very simple options, of course. Address 4 is a monitor. I believe it's that PID module over there. And address 7 is the mini mod behind this pull station. Now let's look at outputs. To enter. And the only outputs on this system are the 2 signal circuits and the municipal box. But there can be various output modules installed on the system, like this SCE95 signal module. So here's the signal circuits: device type signal, alarm group, The signal type, that's the coding option. There's several different options on this if you navigate to it. 60 BPM, 120 BPM march time, temporal, California code, coded, releasing, so we'll leave it on steady. RES, that's how this device can be silenced. So it could be either the regular signal silence, only on reset, or on acknowledge. This will probably be if, say, a trouble bell can be silenced by acknowledging the trouble. We'll leave it on signal silence. Drill, if it participates in drills. So we also got the second signal circuit, which is non-silenceable. That's what's controlling the strobes on the DSM. And then the city box, which is very simple. Now to check the last option, circuit initialization. This is pretty much auto-program for this panel. So you enter the SLC loop and auto-program any devices on it. Gamewell advertised this as Smart Start programming, which allows the panel to automatically find all the devices on its SLC loops. This could be done here, and it also does a Smart Start on power up. 2 is control by event. This is basic device correlation, so you can enter an input group and map it to an output group. And this is pretty common on most modern adjustable panels, so I won't go through it here, but it's very simple correlations there. Next is function. There's a lot of options here. So you have walk test, bypass, input test, output test, and display. So walk test is very straightforward. So there's a display option to display what's in testing, and then 2 is to actually configure it. So when walk test occurs, the walk test light starts flashing, so you can set either only the inputs, which is pretty much sound testing, inputs and signals, audible testing. You can set a custom set of devices to participate in walk test, and then clear everything. Next is bypass. Pretty straightforward. See what devices are bypassed, and there's none. 2 is to actually pick devices, so pretty straightforward, enabling disabling devices where needed. Next is input test. Check the data communications on each of the devices, but it also lights the LEDs on the selected device, which is neat. Check the other devices here. Photo detector. Next is the pulse station. It's got a little LED down there. PID module. And finally, the mini module, which does have an LED. It's a bit hard to see because it's down there, but it's lit. Next is output test. The built-in signal circuits and the city tie cannot be tested from here, but any signal modules like this one can be tested from here. Last is the display option. So there's various different options to either display or download, depending on the option. So here's the configuration menu. You can display or download the configuration. There's no PC connected, so no downloading, but you can display. This cycles through all the cards on the system very fast. Probably isn't very intuitive on the LCD display, but with a monitor hooked up to the RS-232 port on the panel, we'll probably see everything. Next is dictionaries. Dictionary is just a bunch of keywords and other characters to describe each device on the system. Pretty much labels for each of the adjustable devices. So it scrolls through all of those. This is dictionary 5, but other dictionaries can be downloaded to the panel as well. Next is events. Scrolls through all those real fast. And we can review all these as well. So a bunch of programming options, and the alarms during a demonstration, and all that. Next is miscellaneous options. View the passcodes, signal codings for each initiating device, if that's desired. Verification tallies, which there are none, because there's no verification events on any of the detectors. 4 is the panel's firmware information. Identiflex 610 system, version 7.1, last updated in 2001. So the firmware on this is over 20 years old. And last is RAM, which just displays how much empty RAM space there is on the panel. It's barely maxed out, so there's plenty of space left over. And the last option is detector sensitivity reports. There's an option to download or exit. And the last main option is system. Display is the same as the display option in the function programming, so we'll go to change. There's a couple of nondescript menus here. Start with menu 1. So there's an option to change the user passcodes, the initiating device coded patterns, date, which is date time, and daylight savings. 4 is for a security key. 5 is the baud rate for the RS-232 port. 6 is a reserved function. It's looking for version 12 of the analog card, which the loop card is version 12, so probably something for future use. Menu 2, configure the output pattern for the city box, any enunciators on the system, trouble response for the enunciators, BC key, UDACT, day enable, and day night cycles. Yeah, day and night keys are not enabled. And currently the panel is in manual day mode, so this button doesn't really have any function. Next is menu 3. Can change the abort function. Prefix, which changes the alarm prefix. It's currently set to fire and can be changed to pretty much anything else. Leave it to fire. I also want to change the string for the Smart Start config. This is the name of the configuration file. Leave it default. 4 is the verification tally count. It's currently set to 2. And it's options for silence inhibit and auto silence. Finally, menu 4. A couple more options here. 1 is config, which is not accessible from here. 2 is water flow delay. 3 is releasing options. 4 is discharge options. 5 is dictionary options, words and uploading and so forth. 6 is to add or remove cards to the system. And that's pretty much it for all the change menus. Now for the test menu. You test various inputs and outputs. ID just continually shows the status of each of the cards on the system, and that's always cycling like that. 4 is ground fault test, so it's hovering below the upper threshold. 5 is a lamp test. 6 is analog. You can enter a loop to poll, so we'll do loop 1, because it's the only loop. And enter an address to poll, let's do 1. And there's various different data options to send. Just do regular. And now, that detector is pulling really fast. And that's it for the test menu. Once all programming is done, the panel resets. There we go, system's back to being idle. And that is all for the Identiflex 610 fire alarm control panel. The Identiflex series will be updated in the mid-2000s to use the SmartScan protocol, a precursor to the current Velocity protocol. The XP95 Identiflex panels will be discontinued in the late 2000s following the release of the E3 series. The SmartScan Identiflex panels will be phased out in the mid-2010s following the release of the S3 series. Like many other old Gamewell panels, the Identiflex series is quite rare nowadays, and when they do appear on online stores, they tend to be quite expensive. If you do happen to acquire one of these, they make for solid and somewhat unique fire alarm control panels. Unlike the E3 and S3, the Identiflex series can be programmed from the front keypad. Although the XP95 protocol has been superseded by Velocity with Gamewell FCI panels, the Apollo protocol is still used by many other companies, such as Miracom, Harrington Signal, and various other companies, including those outside of North America. In any case, if you have any questions or comments on the Identiflex 610, feel free to post them below. But until next time, have a nice day.